This is my journey to beating every PS2 game. What's up everyone, welcome back to beating every PS2 game. Today we're playing Persona 3 FES, released in 2006 by Atlus. So we got three options, we got normal, easy, or hard. So we end up picking normal. So for this playthrough we're playing the journey. There's two options in this game, you can either do the journey or the answer. The answer is the additional content that was added with FES, which is like the post-game content. We'll be playing that next. This is the journey. So we show up to our dorm room at around midnight and we see this little boy, and he has us sign a contract. We don't know who he is though. Then he leaves and we meet two schoolgirls when we get there. The first one is Mitsuru Kirijo, one of the students who live here, and then this is Yukari Takaba. She's also one of my classmates. The main character, they just call him MC in this game, so I'll be referring to him as that. Yukari shows us to our dorm room, and we ask her about the contract. She says, huh, what contract? She doesn't even know what we're talking about. We spend our first night in the dorm, and Yukari knocks on the door. So yeah, she comes into our room and she asks us if we're ready for school. So we head onto the train and we head with Yukari to Gekukan High School. It's our first day of school. She drops us off at the front door, and from here we're free to explore the school. It's a pretty big area. There's a lot of different areas to explore in the school, different people to talk to. We end up talking to our new teacher, and she tells us that there's a welcoming ceremony that's starting soon. So we head to the welcoming ceremony. We finally get back to our homeroom, and we meet another student, and his name is Junpei Iori. He's also another transfer student that transferred here in the 8th grade. He's also one of the main characters. He becomes a good friend of ours. So throughout the game there will be different questions that the teacher asks you in class, and it's a good chance to boost your abilities. So this one we answer correctly, and we save Junpei from answering the question, and we gain some popularity from that. So it'll increase your charm. There's charm, intelligence, and courage. These are the three main stats for your character in this game. And then we get back to the dorm after school and we meet Ikutsuki. He's like the chairman of the dorm rooms. And we see a cutscene of them here talking about if they think that MC is one of them, if he has the potential. And we see a cutscene here that shows you something called the Dark Hour, which is the hour between 12 and 1 a.m. where time stops and all normal people are turned into coffins, while people with the potential, they stay awake and alive during this time. So Ikutsuki-san, he explains it here. The Dark Hour happens every day at midnight. People turn into coffins, and they're still debating on whether myself has the potential to use personas, which we will find out later on. Then we see another cutscene here where we're in this place called the Velvet Room, and we're meeting Igor and Elizabeth. So this is going on during the Dark Hour while we're supposed to be sleeping in bed, and he shows us the document that we signed when we first arrived at the dorm. So we find out that this document comes from him in the Velvet Room, and we get the Velvet Key. It says we feel like we've had a strange dream, but it's time to go to the school. So after school at night, we're back in the Dark Hour, and Mitsuru says we're the same as last night. And Ikutsuki it says it's imperative that we recruit new members, and we're introduced to Akihiko Sanada. He's also one of the classmates that are at the dorm with us. And he says he's fighting some big monster. He comes back to the dorm, he's all beaten up, and they wake us up in a hurry. Yukari bursts through the door, but she says we have to get out of here right now. And she gives us a sword. So we head on up the stairs all the way to the top of the dorms. We keep on moving up. We're clearly being attacked by a monster. She says she thinks we're okay for now. We get a cutscene at the top of the dorms. So on top of the roof we see some giant monster, some dark monster that's running towards us, trying to attack. And it goes to attack, and Yukari whips out a gun and tries to shoot herself in the head. I was so confused at this point. I was like, did she just try and kill herself? Like, what's going on? So then we pick up the gun and put it to our head. And right before he pulls the trigger, he says, Persona. He pulls the trigger, and boom, this persona is summoned. We find out later on that that's how they summon their personas, is with the evoker. That thing is called. It's not a gun. So yeah, then we summon our persona and beat the monster. And MC summons the persona named Orpheus. So now the game shows us how to fight. So this is the main fighting mechanics that we'll use throughout the game. There's attack, weight, and skill are the ones we can use right now. So we just attack these little shadows with regular attacks. And then we try bash, which consumes 5 HP to use, but it does way more damage. And we've won our first battle. And we gain experience points for every battle we win. And we leveled up to level 2. And Orpheus leveled up as well. So Orpheus is level 2 and his magic increased. And all of a sudden we're teleported back to the Velvet Room with Igor. And he tells us more about our personas and our abilities. He says to evolve your personas, you evolve your social links. So the better social links you have, the more powerful your persona will be. And we wake up the next day in the hospital, and Yukari tells us a story about her parents and how her dad died in an explosion. But no one really knows what happened to him. And she says that her dad was working in a lab owned by the Karijo group. So then we eventually get back to school, and after school we're back at the dorm. And Ikutsuki tells MC that they're known as the Specialized Extracurricular Execution Squad, also known as SEAS. And they prepared an evoker for us. And this is our first social link level up, which is the Fool Arcana. The social link is the SEAS social link. That night we're visited by the mysterious boy again. He also visits you throughout the game. Akihiko comes back to the dorm and he wants to introduce someone. And it's Junpei. We're all shocked to see him, as we know him as the class clown in high school. And Akihiko tells us that Junpei has the potential as well. And then they introduce Tartarus. So there's this big tower called Tartarus that shows up during the dark hour that they want to investigate, and they think they can find out the reason for the dark hour by exploring Tartarus. As soon as the dark hour hits, the tower magically appears right over the high school. It is this huge tower with hundreds of floors. So most of the game you're spent exploring Tartarus, trying to find out why the dark hour exists and how to stop it. So this is the first time that we're seeing Tartarus. This is the main floor of Tartarus. Once we get inside, there's a save point, there's access to the Velvet Room, and there's a teleporter as well. And there's also the entrance to the first or second floor of Tartarus. So we head to the Velvet Room, we talk to Igor, and I'm guessing the other party members can't see that door because they don't know about the existence of the Velvet Room. But yeah, we can go in there and edit our personas and create new personas. So throughout the game we use that a lot. And we head on up to the first floor of Tartarus. So because it's our first time in Tartarus, Mitsuru tries to explain to us how to do battle. She says you want to hit the enemy in the hallway before it hits you. So she starts to teach us the basics of battle. Will be an advantage if we hit the enemy before it spots us. But if it hits us first, then they're at an advantage. Basically means we get the first turn or they get the first turn. So yeah, she tells us a lot of enemies are weak to certain types of attacks, and you can control your party with tactics. And this is another feature, you get to do an all-out attack once you stun all the enemies in the battle, which does massive damage. And at the end of each battle, there's like a roulette where you can win prizes like experience, health, new personas, and you got to select the right card. So we got a new persona called Pixie. And we find a staircase, and Mitsuru won't let us go up to the next floor, even though later on we go up to all the floors. And we level up the Fool Arcana to level 2. So the next day, we head back to school, and we find out Mitsuru is the class president, and she's giving a speech. And we fast forward to the end of the school day. So after school, you can start to work on your social links and establish friendships with many of your classmates, which in turn will boost your persona's level when you create new personas. So we head out of the school with Akihiko, and we get to check out the island. There's about 5 different spots you can go. This is Polonia Mall. There's a bunch of different areas here. We go to check out the police station. So Akihiko knows the officer here, and he's agreed to help us out. He knows about our situation, and this guy sells us weapons and armor throughout the game. We can also sell stuff to him to make more money. And if you go down this hallway, it's a shortcut to the Velvet Room. So again, you can upgrade your personas and create new personas there. And you can also do challenges, which Elizabeth gives you, like a list of challenges to win rewards. But this is the screen where you create your new personas. So you can combine these two to create Apsaris, the priestess, which will be slightly stronger than the ones I have now. So I do it, fuse them together. So all the personas look like cards in this area. When you fuse them together, you see the new card. So now we have Apsaris, and we go stay at the karaoke lounge, which is an area that if you go to, you boost your courage. So we get back to the dorm, and we talk to Mitsuru. You can also check the status of your party with her, and you can tell her, let's go to Tartarus. So we head to Tartarus, and we make it all the way up to the 5th floor, and then we activate the teleport device so we can go back to the 1st floor. And the next day we're at school, and we meet a new classmate. It's Kenji Tomochika, and he's another classmate that you can increase your social links with. So we go to hang out with him at the ramen shop, and he is the representative of the Magician Arcana. So the new social link, we established it with him, which will boost all our personas of Magician in the future. And there's another thing we can study before bed, which is what we do here. Increases our academics, but sometimes you get stuck on your worst subject and then you're tired for the next day, so you can't do as much the next day. Here we join the track team. It's one of the clubs you can join. And we meet Kazushi. He's another social link that we just created right now. So tonight we go to sleep earlier, so that way we're not as tired the next day. And then when you get to school, you'll see your classmates will talk to you after class. They're like, hey, let's hang out after school. You know, they're all trying to fight for your attention. Learned it's better to just reject them all, and then you can always pick which one later on that you want to hang out with. So we got track team social link to level 2. And we head back to Tartarus. So we make it to the 10th floor here. Every certain amount of floors there's like a boss type of floor. So here's the thing, sometimes your social links will call you, and you can accept to hang out with them on like the weekend or something. So we accepted our invite with Kazushi, and then we go try to join the student council with Mitsuru after school. And we meet the disciplinary committee rep, which is another social link. I believe the Emperor social link. And that has been established. So this is the screen that shows all your social links. Go to sleep for the night. We increase the magician to level 2. And we fight our first floor boss in Tartarus. It's like these 3 hand shadows. So we try to fight the floor boss, and we end up getting wrecked our first attempt here. But we try again, and then on our second attempt we end up completing it. So on the next day, we head to the store. This store sells a whole bunch of different items we could use in battle. Here I was laughing at some of the lyrics of the music. He just called her a bitch. After school, we leveled up the track team to level 3. And we talked to Yuko after school. And we end up walking home with her. So there are some love interests in this game that you could take out on dates. And this one is one of them. And she's also one of the persona links. Elizabeth sometimes will ask you to escort her around town so she can check out the human world. The next day we take out Yuko again, and we take out Elizabeth on a date, and we bring her back successfully. Yuko is with the Strength Arcana, which is the team manager link, and we're level 2 with that. We head to bed. And during the dark hour, the little boy visits us again. He warns us about the full moon 1 week from now. As a new ordeal awaits us, and we will encounter one of them. Akihiko says to watch out for red shadows. They're a bit more powerful. And we level up team manager to level 3. And during Tartarus, we get to another floor boss. Its Arcana is the Chariot. And we just barely end up beating him here. And we make it to the dead end on the first set of floors in Tartarus. The next day we get the classmate to level 3. And the student council to level 2. And all of a sudden it's the full moon again. And Mitsuru finds a shadow, a big shadow, that we've never encountered anything like it before. And it's outside of Tartarus. So we have to defeat all of them that we find. And so we head out to look for it. It said it's located inside the monorail. So we have to go walk on the tracks to get there. So we run down the tracks of the monorail. We get on the train and we see a coffin. Just a random passenger on the train. And we make our way through the train. And we end up finding the big shadow that we gotta fight. It's a freaking boss shadow, just like Junpei says. And we gotta take it out. This one is timed. We end up fighting it, and it's weak. And we end up taking it out. One last bash. And boom, the boss has been defeated. And we gained a C social link level, level 3. And the next day we're back in our room. Elizabeth calls us. And she lets us know that the next area of Tartarus is available to explore. And the next day in class, our teacher tells us midterms are starting soon. So with midterms, you gotta prepare, make sure your academics is high. We head over to the bookstore and we start a new social link with the old couple. The Hierophant. And then we get them to level 2 the next day. And level 3 the next day after that. And level 4 the next day. And then we find out the first semester midterm exams begin today. So during the midterms, there's a bunch of questions that they did go over some of them in class. You got to get them right. We level up the team manager to level 4. And we head back to the dorm room. Akihiko ends up being fully healed today, so now you can use him in Tartarus. And he says we found another Persona user. Junpei asks if it's a girl. And it is another girl. Her name is Fuka. And at the same time we get back to Tartarus and head to another boss floor. Now this one I remember being really difficult. Yeah, they have a group fire attack that just rips through your party. We got wrecked by it, so we end up trying to do it later. We go check out the scores, and our midterm exam score is a little bit above average, and our charm skill increased. Got our track team social link to level 4. So we go back to Tartarus to try this boss fight again. This time we got Frost Jack, or Jack Frost, to help out. And we use the all-out attack. And we end up defeating the floor boss this time. Yeah, we also picked up that weird armor for Yukari. Got the team manager social link to level 5 the next day. Yuko is starting to like us a bit more than a friend. Student council to level 4. The classmate to level 4. And student council to level 5. And we're back in Tartarus to another boss floor, level 436. And we end up dying on this one. But we try again. And this time around we take it out. No issues. And we meet the little girl at the playground, who could also be a social link. We get the classmate to level 6 the next day. And we reach the dead end to the second area of Tartarus, floor 40. Can't go any farther. And this is the first time we play the MMORPG on our computer, which is also another social link of the Hermit. And we get that to level 1. That's one of the funnier social links. We have the little girl social link at level 1. And this is the next full moon where we divide into teams and we're searching for the big shadow again. Every full moon there's usually some type of big shadow that we gotta fight, take care of. This time we all split up and get separated in Tartarus. And we get visited by the mysterious boy again. So we gotta regroup with our team. Just look around the whole area. And we end up finding Akihiko and Junpei. And they hear the voice of Fuka. And there she is, the newest member to our team. She's also a classmate at our school. And she also has some of the same abilities as Mitsuru, where she can analyze the enemies. And she can detect them from far away. And they talk about the phases of the moon here and why it affects the shadows. We get back to the first floor of Tartarus and we see 2 boss shadows. And they have Mitsuru in their clutches. So we gotta fight to get him back. Fuka unleashes her persona. And boom. It's a giant protective bubble, which totally stops the boss's attack. And now we have a boss fight on our hands. So we fight the 2 bosses, we get them down, both knocked on the ground. We use an all-out attack. And we take out the first one. It's almost like an Ornstein and Smo type of boss fight. And then we take out the second one as well. And that was one of the easier boss fights. And we rescued Fuka. So now Fuka is officially part of the team. And the next day we get the classmate social link to level 7. We head over to check out this new store. This lets you create new weapons. You fuse weapons with personas. Use it a few times throughout the game. We got the team manager social link to level 6. And the track team social link to level 5. And here is Fuka officially joining our team and living in the dorms. And this is Yuko. She wants to go on a date this weekend. So of course we accept it. And it turns out we already accepted someone else's plan. Which means I have to call that person and cancel them, or text them and cancel them. I didn't realize at the time, but this is part of the game where, you know, the person that you cancel on gets angry. So your relationship with them sours. And the social link breaks. It's become reversed. So now you have to reconcile your relationship before you can increase it again. We've got the old couple social to level 5. And we get the Death Arcana social link from the little mysterious boy. Yeah, we gotta make it up to Kazushi to get back on his good side. We got the Strength Arcana to level 7. And the next area of Tartarus is cleared up. so we can head on up. And we make our way to another boss fight. Golden Beetles. So yeah, this is a pretty easy boss fight. We smack them with lightning. They're upside down. We just all out attack them and they're toast. One of the easier ones. A lot of these floor boss fights are pretty easy. There's a couple that are a little tricky, but for the most part, they're not that hard. Then we head up to another floor with a boss fight. This one's like a white knight type character. And we end up taking him out, no problem. Next day we get our student council level up to 6. And we also start a new social link with the band club, orchestra club, something like that, I forget. And we get the Sushi King level up to... Oh, we just started the Sushi King level social link. Student council up to 7. Then we meet a dog outside the apartment named Koromaru, who's pretty important. He becomes one of the members of our squad. And we meet the boy Ken Amada. He's friends with Yukari, and he hangs out at the shrine. He's also another future member of the squad. We finally repair our friendship with Kazushi, which means we can finally get our level back up with him. And the next night we end up going into the dark hour. Get a cutscene and we see everyone in coffins. And one of the coffins opens, and it's a random guy. And we meet this group of 3 here, who become very important throughout the game. And they're kind of acting as like an assassination squad that can take people out during the dark hour while they're not expecting it. So we get the next day, we get our track team up to 6, and Yuko, we're finally, our relationship is super strong with Yuko now. And we're on level 8 with Yuko. She starts to catch feelings for us. And the next night we're back in Tartarus. We make it to the end of the area we're allowed to go to. We got track team to level 7 the next day. And track team level 8 the next day. We take Elizabeth out for a date to get takoyaki, which is like octopus balls or something. The Gourmet King, we always call him Sushi King, so I'm going to call him that. Got him to level 2. We get the online friend to level 2. Student council to level 8. So we're really leveling up all our skills here. Got the girl at the shrine to level 2. And we see the mysterious boy that night. And he tells us the next full moon's in 1 week. And we get our student council link to level 9. And then the next day we get the girl at the shrine to level 3. Yeah, you have to try and use your time wisely to get everyone max social link level. And this is where we finally max out our student council level. Let's go. So now, because we're max level with the student council, we get the ability to create Odin, who is very important for this game. And it tells us we've reached max level. Odin becomes one of our best personas that we unlock. And we get Sushi King up to level 3. And the online game up to level 3. And finally, it's time for the next full moon. And this time we're in some type of like abandoned hotel. You gotta search the whole hotel, every room, to find the shadows. And we end up finding the boss here. And again, it's a pretty easy one, I would say. So we get into fighting it. And yeah, we end up smashing it up. Do another all-out attack just to take it out. All-out attack is very useful in this game. It's very powerful. If you can get one, you should be going for it, you know. So yeah, we end up seeing through some mirror, and we're in some like weird trance-like state. Kari comes out in a bath towel. It's like no one knows what's going on. Our thoughts were being manipulated the whole time. So we end up meeting back up with each other, and we find a mirror that we break to weaken the seal on us, and then we find the next boss, who is the source of the mind manipulation, which Fuka can sense, and we end up beating it. It's another easy boss down. Yeah, I did a lot of grinding in this game just so I was high enough level to beat all these bosses without, you know, dying a million times. Got our C social link to level 4 there, and the assassin squad is looking over us, saw what we were doing. Finals start next week. We got our Sushi King level up to 5, and Elizabeth tells us a new path is open in Tartarus. Get our academics up to above average, which is really nice. And then we see Shinji talking to Akihiko. Get our online game up to level 4, and the mysterious boy visits us again. We get it up to level 3. And Yakutsuki tells us that we're going on a trip soon after finals. So Junpei is excited. I skipped through finals, ended up passing them, of course, and Junpei is so excited to get over school. And Akutsuki introduces us to a new member of the squad, which is the kid from before, Kanamada. And we get all the way to the end of Tartarus where we're allowed to, and the gate opens. This is the path Elizabeth told us was unblocked. And we get up to our next boss fight. It's these 3 Hulk Hogan wrestler looking guys. And they end up killing me my first attempt. They wiped out my whole squad. But on the second attempt, we ended up taking them out with an all-out attack. And then we make our way all the way up to the next boss fight. It's pretty easy to move through the floors. If you just run straight for the staircase, you can get up to the next boss fight like pretty quickly. So we took out 2 bosses there. And we're going to Yakushima for 4 days. Everyone's on the boat to Yakushima. We get a nice little cutscene. Junpei is super excited. And it also turns out Mitsuru's family is from here, so we go to visit her father. And that was her father's mansion, and everyone's more excited about going to the beach. Junpei, all he's interested in is girls, so he asks us which one we like. Obviously, we're going to say Mitsuru. We all like Mitsuru here. And yeah, so then the next day we're talking to Mitsuru's father. Explains what happened in the incident at the school. And the next day we're back outside the mansion. And Ikutsuki says a machine left the facility and he can't find it. Now we go on Operation Babe Hunt with the boys. We end up going talking to all the girls on the beach. It's kind of hilarious. And we find this girl on the pier who is a little weird. End up talking to her. She starts running away. We're all like, what did we do? We scared her away? What did we say to her? And we find her in the forest. And she says, I've found you. And it turns out Akutsuki shows up and he tells us this is the machine that escaped. Her name's Aegis. And she's a mechanical maiden. And her mission is to destroy shadows. And we get our C's link up to level 5. Then we see a cutscene with Shinji and the assassin squad. And he tells them we want to get rid of the dark hour, and they're not happy about that. We're back at school, and we get our scores back. Our charm increases, and we went from confident to smooth. Summer vacation finally begins, and we meet a well-dressed man in the mall who ends up becoming a social link later on. Tells us to give him 20,000 yen, and we do. And that night we meet a monk who's drinking in the bar. Now that we have a high enough courage level, we could speak to him. And we ended up calling him Pop-Pop because he looks a lot like my grandpa, so we called him Pop-Pop throughout the rest of the time here. But yeah, he's the monk social link, which represents the Tower Arcana. So we started that social link. And that night we're awoken by Fuka, who detects a shadow, and we got to get to the 4th floor quickly. And we see the dog from earlier, Koromaru, who they say he just defeated the shadow all by himself, and he becomes part of the squad. Tanaka officially introduces himself, and that lets us join the Devil Arcana. So it'll be level. Then we get our Devil Arcana to level 2, and the next day is the track team competition. And we beat our personal record, but we still didn't come in first. We had our rival athlete who came in first. And we get our monk level to 2. And we begin our social link with the rival athlete, who is one of the persona links, social links. And Akutsuki sits with us and talks with us about the full moon. And we're in some type of underground area, and we meet the assassin squad for the first time. They're known as Strega, and they end up locking us in the underground area. So we concentrate on our original goal and we prepare for battle. We get to the bottom of the underground area and we find a tank persona, or tank shadow, waiting at the bottom. Now this tank can separate into 2 separate shadows. So one represents the chariot and the other is justice, so we have to use their weaknesses against them. And we ended up taking them out pretty easily. As soon as we take out one, we can take out the other. And we get victory. And we get our rival athlete up to level 2. And we get the monk up to level 3. We also get visited by the mysterious boy. We get to level 5. And Elizabeth calls us to let us know a new path is open in Tartarus. Koromaru officially joins the squad. He looks super cool, super cute. Got his own little collar there. And it is an evoker for dogs. And we open up the new path. And we are in a whole new area of Tartarus now. Get to our first boss fight in the new area. And we end up smacking these guys. With Koromaru involved in the party. Do an all-out attack. Boom, taken care of. And the next day we get our rival athlete up to level 3. We get the businessman to level 3. And we go to the movies. There's a film festival going on. And we got our courage up to fearless. The next day we get the businessman to level 4. And then we get a whole cutscene about Junpei. And he meets this girl who is sitting around in the area outside the movie theater, and he ends up developing a crush on her. And we get the monk to level 4, and we take Elizabeth on another date. These are always weird little cutscenes when you take Elizabeth out. And we get another boss fight in Tartarus, and this is one of the easier ones. Take them out very easily. And we make it to the end of this new path. Get our rival athlete scored at level 4 and the businessman to level 5. And our charm increased from smooth to popular now. And yeah, Ikutsuki officially introduces Ken as the new member of the squad. Even though he's still in elementary school, which is what they said there. We get the monk up to level 5. And we get the businessman to level 6. And we also get the classmate up to level 8. And we got our track team up to level 9 finally. Shinji comes to the dorms to introduce himself. And he officially joins the squad. And we finally maxed out the track team social link. It's been forever, but we got it done. We see a little cutscene with Junpei. And he says he hears a familiar voice. Then Ikutsuki talks to us, says it's the 6th full moon. And we see a cutscene where Chidori, the girl that he met, like, binds him up and has him hostage. And then we end up finding this shadow, this big shadow guy that we gotta fight. And we end up taking it out. Thankfully, I was pretty over leveled through most of the game, so most of these boss fights were not that bad. And yeah, we end up taking them out here. And Chidori says that our squad has completed the mission, and we end up saving Junpei. He breaks out of his chains, grabs Chidori. He still has love for her, even though she's emotionally unstable. And the next day we establish a new social link with a dying young man. And we get the monk to level 6. And the next day Junpei visits Chidori in the hospital. And we get the old couple to level 6, the businessman to level 7, and team manager Yuko to level 9. Elizabeth calls to let us know there's a new path available in Tartarus, and we head on up to the next area. And we get our first boss fight in the new area. It's a bunch of tanks that are really easy because they all are the same weakness. So we just take them out, no problem. And we make our way up to the next boss fight on floor 135. Now this guy was kind of a beast. He knocked us out on our first try. And we got our classmate level to level 9 the next day, and the businessman to level 8. The mysterious boy visits us that night. We get to level 6 with him, and the dying young man to level 2. We also get the monk to level 7. And our charm finally gets to max increase, which is charismatic. And we finally max the magician arcana, which is the classmate. His whole social link was really funny. I liked his a lot. Businessman, we get to level 9. And the old couple, we get to level 7. And we end up falling asleep as soon as we get back to the dorm. And we get a cutscene. And we end up in the Velvet Room with Igor. And he teaches us that we're allowed to fuse multiple personas now. We get the online game link to level 5. We go back to the movies. Got my courage to max, which is badass. Now we try and take on this table enemy again. And this time we end up taking it out. Anytime you can't beat a boss, you just grind for a bit, come back, and then you can take him out the next time. And we make it to the top of this area. We get the old couple to level 8, and we get the monk to level 8. We finally got Yuko to max social link. So she is in love with us. I guess she's our girlfriend now. What's funny is when you get your girl to the max link, she kind of forgets about you and you can start talking to other girls. And we maxed our businessman social link too. So now we have like 3 or 4 maxed links. So we definitely try and create personas with those maxed links. Got the dying man to level 3. And we started a new link with Yukari, who is a new love interest.
old couple, we get to level 9. And we get Yukari to level 2. Now we're talking about the next target. It says it's in the plaza in Utodai Station. Boom, as soon as we get there, we see these 2 shadows. We take out the first one. And then we gotta fight the second one. This one was really cool. I believe this is the one where it's like a roulette wheel. It was a cool boss. But yeah, we ended up taking it out. And we're on to the next area. We see a cutscene with Ken talking to Shinji about how he murdered his mother. And he ends up forgiving him, even though Shinji tells him to kill him. And Shrega shows up. And he shoots it at Ken, and Shinji jumps in front of the bullet. And he ends up taking out Shinji.
Oh man. He killed Shinji.
What is the meaning of this? Why would you risk your life to save this child?
So yeah, the next day everyone's upset about the loss of Shinji. But it's back to work, and we max out our social link with the old couple. We can make Koryu. And when we return to the dorm, Elizabeth lets us know that the path is now open to the next area in Tartarus. Get our mysterious boy social link to level 8, and we get the Sushi King to level 6. So we open up the path, and we head on up. We get to our first boss fight in the new area, and it's 3 giant knights. And we end up taking them out. These guys were kind of tough, but we defeated them all. And we make our way to the next boss fight in the new area. This guy's a different kind of Hulk Hogan guy. And we end up taking him out as well. Yeah, it's real hit or miss with a lot of these floor boss fights. Some are really hard, some are pretty easy. And Fuka tells us it seems to be the top of that area of Tartarus. We get our Hanged Man social link to level 4, and the Monk to level 9. And our computer game social link to level 6 as well. We get the Sushi King to level 7. And we get the online game to level 7. The little girl at the shrine to level 5. And we also create a new social link, the Justice social link, with one of the other girls from school. We get Yukari to level 3. And we get Sushi King to level 8. And we maxed out our pop-up old monk, unusual monk social link. And we can make max tower personas. We get our online game to level 8. And the little girl to level 6. We also get Yukari to level 4. And we get our academics level to max. We are now a genius. Get Yukari to level 5. And we get our online game to level 9. We get our Sushi King to level 9 as well. And we get our C social link to level 6. Now it's the next full moon night, which is the 12th and final shadow. We get a cutscene of Strega on the bridge. They're talking about fate, deciding who will prevail here. And we have to end up fighting Strega in this battle. Turns out this is one of the easiest boss fights. These guys are not tough at all. I heard eventually later on down the line there was like a mod or something that fixed this, because these guys are like an absolute joke in the original game. Which I loved. I'll always take an easy boss fight. Then the 12th and final shadow appears, and this thing is crazy looking. I believe it's the Hanged Man Arcana shadow. And this is like a pretty long boss fight, because it keeps healing itself and creating, like, he can summon minions every time to heal himself. But we end up taking him out, and we're all happy. We're about to get rid of the Dark Hour forever. And the little boy visits us, says farewell. It was fun while it lasted. And we maxed out our little boy social link, the Death Arcana. And we got our C social link to level 7. All of a sudden, we're back in the Dark Hour. What's going on? Everyone's confused. And Akutsuki takes us to Tartarus. And apparently he knew from the beginning that the Dark Hour was not going to disappear. He had a plan this whole time to unite all the shadows and the Arcanas in hopes of salvation for the land. So he had a master plot this whole time, and he was planning on using Aegis as a weapon. So he ties all of us up on like crucifix type things in the tower high up in Tartarus, and Akutsuki and Mitsuru's father face off. Akutsuki betrays us. He ends up shooting Mr. Kirijo, and Koromaru grabs the switch, and Akutsuki gets shot as well, and he falls off the tower. So we return to the dorm and sleep. And in the papers the next day is the sudden death of Mitsuru's father. Everyone's just shocked after what happened. And Elizabeth calls us, lets us know there's a new path open, and it's back to business as usual. And we're in a whole new area of Tartarus. Fight our first boss on it, and we end up getting wrecked. These things are much stronger on this level. And we make our first double persona fusion, and we create Thor, who's an absolute beast of a persona. He helped us a lot throughout the game. Eventually we end up leveling him up into Odin as well. And the next day we have a new student in class, Ryoji. And of course he becomes friends with us. We get Yukari social link to level 6. And we finally max the Sushi King social link, which is the Moon Arcana. And we combine Thor with someone else to create Odin, who was pretty much like my endgame persona. We get Yukari to level 7. And we try and fight these guys again. This time we end up taking them out. And the annoying thing is when they attack you and stun you, they could just keep attacking. And then we try and fight the next boss in this area as well. And yeah, Odin's just a beast. He absolutely just wrecks people. So we end up taking out that boss, and there's another one we find that we take them out as well. This one's a little bit easier than the others. The Phantom King. But it goes down all the same. And there's another boss fight as well. We just breeze through these areas, grinding along the way of course, but mostly just rushing the boss fights, trying to go as far as possible, and then just grinding on the other every other day basically. We end up taking out that boss. Then this one's like a dice boss. Pretty sure this one was really easy as well. Yeah, we end up demolishing the dice boss. But yeah, this area had some of the most floor bosses. And we maxed the Hermit Arcana, the online game. Finally, that's also a pretty funny storyline. I suggest doing that one if you ever play. Because it ends up, I believe it ends up being your teacher and you end up like liking each other on the game. It's pretty funny. Then we end up going on vacation to Kyoto for a little bit, and we all arrive in Kyoto, and we're at like a hotel in Kyoto. We go sightseeing the first day, and when we get back we change into our bathrobe. They have like a sauna in the hotel. We do a walking tour. It's not a lot that goes on in Kyoto, but this part's really funny. They stay in the hot spring late until it's girls' hour in the hot spring, so they stay in late and they gotta hide from the girls. And they all show up. And I didn't know how to do this part. I was like, how do I get past the girls? Like, so I tried to sneak out, and I think Ryoji went too close to Fuka and she saw us. And the girls are furious. Mitsuru says she's gonna execute all of us. And Aige says it was nice knowing you, so the boys are all terrified. And the next day we leave Kyoto by bullet train. And the next day we get the Dying Man social link up to level 4. Fuka wakes us up in the middle of the night. And Strega is still alive, it seems. So we gotta go take care of him. We end up going to Tartarus, and Chidori is standing outside. So we end up having to fight Chidori. And she is pretty easy as well. So we take her out. And Junpei is still upset. And then Strega shows up. And they shoot at Junpei. And it hits him. And Junpei drops. Chidori uses her healing abilities to heal Junpei, and she revives him, and she kind of like transfers her life into him, because she actually does care about him deep down. He always cared about her, and now she says she'll live inside him forever. And so they all think Chidori is dead. And everyone's sad for Junpei. Junpei's really sad. We also get the Yukari social link to level 8. And we get seized to level 9. We get the Dying Young Man to level 5. And we get the Rival Athlete to level 5 as well. And then we see a cutscene with Aigis looking for Ryoji. And Aigis is real skeptical of him. And she's telling him about the Dark Hour and asking him if he remembers. And apparently Ryoji used to be a shadow. And she says his true name is Death. And he's the shadow that she sealed away years ago. And then we see his true form on the bridge. Apparently he lived inside of the main character until we broke the seal when we took out all the 12 shadows. So that's when he got released and joined our crew. And Aigis ended up getting defeated by him. But Ryoji, he seems like a pretty chill dude. He still like talks to us, but I don't think it's his choice to be the embodiment of all shadows. Yeah, he's the appriser born from the union of all 12 arcanas. That's just how he is. So he passes out, and we end up bringing him to the dorm. Ryoji lived inside you for 10 years. The boy named Pharos was actually Ryoji, so the little boy who visited us was actually him the whole time. He tells us about the maternal being Nyx, which is like the Deathbringer to the world, which leads to the extinction of mankind every time, and the end of the world. So he tells us we're not going to live to see the spring unless they kill him. So if they kill him, all memories of the Dark Hour would disappear with him, and we have until December 31st, New Year's Eve, to think about it. So we go back to our regular routine and we get rival athlete to level 6, the dying young man to level 6, and the rival athlete to level 7, and again to level 8. And we decide to do some more exploring in Tartarus. We made it to the top, get the rival athlete to level 9, and the dying young man to level 7. And we get him also to level 8, and we get the rival athlete maxed. So his social link was pretty quick. We did that pretty fast. Then we get the girl at the shrine to level 7. That's a whole weird social link, that girl at the shrine thing. We get Yukari to level 9, dying young man to level 9. And we get the girl at the shrine to level 8, and the girl at the shrine to level 9. And we get back to the dorm, and Aegis is back. She's okay. And finally, we're at December 31st, and Ryoji asked us if we made the decision. Most of them want to fight and not have to kill him, because if we kill him, no one remembers anything. So we end up letting him live. And if you kill him, then the game ends there, and you don't get to see the rest of the game. So, of course, we let him live, and we're going to fight Nyx ourselves. So that's his real form the whole time. He's the Deathbringer. And he asks us again if we have a different answer now. And we still are going to let him live. And that is the true ending of the game, so of course we're going to do that. Plus, like, who's going to end the game there? Just quit, like, when you're almost at the end. And we max our C's social link, the Fool Arcana. And we also start a new social link. So in 1 month we have to get to the top of Tartarus to fight Nyx, basically. And Elizabeth lets us know that a new path is open in Tartarus. So we head on up. We got Junpei a flaming sword now, which is pretty cool. So yeah, the new persona was, or the new arcana was the Nyx Annihilation Squad. So we head up to our first boss of the new area. And yeah, these guys are actually pretty easy. We took them out with very little problems. And they're real weird looking too. And we got the level 3 Nyx Annihilation Squad. Head up to the next floor boss. It's like these 3 snake looking things. And we end up taking them out as well. And we get to level 5 Nyx Annihilation Squad. And we find another floor boss. And this one was pretty easy as well. By this point I'd grinded a ton just to make sure I was ready for Nyx, so my level was pretty high for all these bosses, which was very nice. We get to level 6 Nyx Annihilation Squad and level 7 Nyx Annihilation Squad. And we take on another floor boss here. These guys are pretty tough. They like to reflect attacks and stuff like that, so we had to be very careful when we're fighting them. But we ended up taking them out. Junpei looks sick there. And Nyx Annihilation Squad to level 8. And we finally maxed the Dying Young Man Arcana. Definitely a really cool storyline. I'd recommend that one. And we also maxed out the little girl social link, the Hangman social link. And that was a really weird storyline. The parents are like, "Why are you hanging out with the daughter, you creep?" It's like, I don't know, she's just a social link. So yeah, we end up fighting this other floor boss, and he's an absolute beast. He smacks my whole team in one attack. So we try again, and we end up taking him out this time. And after that fight, We end up getting to level 9, Nick's Annihilation Squad, and very shortly after we end up maxing it out, which is pretty much what's needed for the final boss fight. We get to the last block path, and we actually start a new Arcana social link right here. It's like this hairdresser guy, the transfer student. Get that to level 2. Then we get him to level 3. And then we end up maxing out Yukari's social link. She says she loves us. Crazy. And, you know, we say nothing, of course, like we always do. Mr. Mysterious over here. Gotta be mysterious. But we maxed the lover's social link. Then right after, we end up creating a new social link with Fuka. She's also another social link you could talk to. We get the transfer student to level 4. Yeah, by this part of the game I was running out of social links to create, so I had to do the ones that were left. And so there's this character Death that follows you around if you stay on the floor too long, so we ended up trying to fight him. And he's one of the most powerful bosses in the game. So we tried to fight him here, and he absolutely just wipes the whole squad. And this fight takes a good like 20 minutes, so this was way into it. And he absolutely destroys us, so I was like, alright, maybe I can't fight this guy. We get the transfer student to level 5. Mitsuru tells us Chidori has come back to life. Everyone is stunned. And Junpei is like, what? What'd you say? So he visits her in the hospital. And he's like, oh, I'm never leaving your side again. Yeah, and all her organs have completely healed. She's still weak, but she's here. And she has no memory of Junpei, which is sad. We get Fuka to level 2. And we also create a new social link with Mitsuru. And we get Fuka to level 3. And we get Mitsuru to level 2. We also get Mitsuru to level 3. And we get the transfer student to level 6. So we head on up, back to Tartarus, and we try to take on Death again. And for the round 2. Fuku's like, you can't kill it, it's impossible. Run. But they don't know me. They don't know Odin and Thunder Rain. We end up taking out Death, one of the hardest bosses in the game. And boom. We get right back on to chilling with Mitsuru, level 4 with her. And this is the last meeting of the group before the final battle. I tell her I'm ready to go, baby. Let's do it. We're taking out Nyx together. And we get up to fight Nyx, and look who's here. One of the Strega members. So we go to smack him again. It was one of the easiest bosses in the game. Completely wreck him. I don't even think he gets a chance to attack, honestly. Guy's a joke. And he ends up surrounded by shadows. He pulls a grenade pin and just blows himself up. And we get to the other member of Strega. Right before the top of Tartarus. And we gotta fight him as well. He's a little bit harder, but he falls the same. Still very easy relative to all the other bosses in the game. And this is it, the final boss fight. Fuka asks us if we're ready, and we head on up. And we finally get to the top. And we see a straight up battlefield. We look up at the sky. And boom, there's Nyx flying in. Everyone's shocked. And this thing is looking creepy. She's looking creepy as heck. So we end up in the fight with Nyx and we start attacking her. Boom, we take out her health bar. Easy. Just kidding. She has like 12 different forms or something like that. So she has the ability to change her arcana multiple times. So every time you kill one of her arcanas, she switches to the next one, which changes up her weaknesses, her strengths. So it's a pretty long boss fight. And eventually we get to the point where she uses this move called Moonless Gown, which completely protects her for like multiple turns. So Fuka lets us know, she's like, hey, you should not attack when she has this going on. So that's basically what we do. You gotta just wait it out. But as soon as Moonless Gown goes down, we just unload on her. That's kind of the plan for the fight. She uses this big attack, which actually doesn't do that much damage to us. But we end up just using our biggest attacks as soon as her guard's down. And drop some bombs on her. Just do all our big damage attacks. Junpei hits her here. And boom, we take out Nyx. The final boss, the boss of all bosses, what we've been leading up to this whole time. The Nyx avatar is done. Then we get a cutscene, Nyx flies up into the heavens. There's a whole bunch of crazy stuff going on here. Apparently we didn't even take her out, she's still alive. It's about time for the end of the world. Everyone's terrified. Everyone's saying they're not going to give up, they're going to keep fighting to the end. She can't take us out. But they're just not powerful enough to take her out. Even Aegis gets knocked down. Then all of a sudden we end up in the Velvet Room. And he says we have like a spirit bomb type of weapon. All our friends that we've amassed throughout the game, they're giving us their energy. Because we are the main character. Together they will bring about a great change in us. So we're going to bring about a new beginning with this new power. So we head back to the battlefield. And all of a sudden the main character starts rising up into the heavens. Everyone's shocked. They're like, what the heck? And they're like, no, don't do it. But we get all the way up there. And we're inside like this weird ethereal plane where we're fighting like the heart of Nyx. It's like the heart of death. And it does these super powerful attacks on us. Gets us down to 1 HP every time. And then we can, they end up sending the energy. And they're like, take my life if you have to. Give me your, give him your strength. So it heals us back up. And we just keep, just taking hits. Then eventually when we get our health all the way back up, we can use this move called the Great Seal, which seals Nyx away. And boom, the main character saves the day with all the energy from his loved ones. And the voice says the dark hour will be vanished from the world. And the legacy of life will continue. And all of a sudden everyone's watching as the freaking Tartarus Tower just starts disintegrating right in front of them. And everyone's overjoyed. The battle has ended. Tartarus and the Dark Hour have disappeared. The world was saved from the fall. And no one remembered anything about the extraordinary turn of events after the battle. So before the fight, they had a whole plan to, like, no matter what happens, they're going to meet on this one specific day. So even though their memories are erased, they still remember that. Aegis actually remembers everything. Even though everyone else has forgotten what happened, she still remembers. And then while Mitsuru was giving her speech at the graduating day, everyone remembers all at once. So during her speech, one by one, they all start snapping out of it, waking up and remembering. Like, wait, I remember what happened. Junpei gets up, turns to Akihiko. He's like, Akihiko, I remember. They all remember everything all at once. Mitsuru jumps off the stage, and they all go run off to find the main character and Aegis. They're like, let's ditch this ceremony. It's a beautiful ending to a beautiful game. And at the end of the game, we see main character and Aegis sitting on the roof talking about what happened. I guess talks about what it means to live. She says, "Thank you for everything." The main character closes his eyes and starts to drift away. And that's it. That's Persona 3, The Journey. Absolutely beautiful game. So yeah, it's time for my rating. This one, it took me about 96 hours to beat The Journey. It's probably the longest game we played so far, or one of them. But for the enjoyability, I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. Just an awesome game. Never really played anything like it. Difficulty is like a 5. There were not many parts that are that hard, especially if you've been grinding. The music, I gave a 10 out of 10. First 10 out of 10 the whole channel. Music's an absolute banger. I love the soundtrack for this. I was playing it in my car, driving to and from work. Loved it. And the graphics, I gave an 8.5, mostly because of the art design. It was beautiful. But yeah, it was an amazing game. I'd never heard of this game before I played it on this challenge, and I'm really glad I did. This is the reason, like, these type of games are the reasons why I started doing this challenge. This is now like one of my favorite classic games. It took forever. It's a really long game, but it's a beautiful game. I love these characters, love the story. Music's amazing. And I was getting the nostalgic feeling even though I never played it before. And even just like editing this video now, I'm still getting the nostalgic feelings. It's a great game. And so far it's my favorite game that we played on this journey. So yeah, thank you guys all for watching. And also, they just remastered this game recently, so I recommend everyone checking it out. If you've never played it before, it's a great game to play, especially as a first time. Yeah, definitely check that out. And we're also treated to a little post-game, post-credits cutscene here, where the friends find us on the rooftop, and Ige smiles at them. So yeah, that's it for Persona 3 The Journey.
I mean, the answer.
So yeah, for this one we did it a little different. There was no wheel spin. I decided to split it up into the journey and the answer. It's kind of like an add-on content. It's like a whole separate story they added to the game. So that'll be the next game. So yeah, the next game is Persona 3 The Answer. Thanks for watching my playthrough of Persona 3 The Journey. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more PS2 games. Also follow me on Twitch to see me play the games live. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.